hometown. I want to say a big welcome to everybody at home. I'm Bill Hemmer. Welcome here to America's Newsroom. How you doing?
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, everybody. Lots moving on this story this morning as there is increased scrutiny over the whole decision to bring Bo Bergdahl home in the manner that he was brought back. And as you say, James Rosen with some really explosive reporting on this.
And some of our Fox polling, too, suggests that overwhelmingly the majority of Americans believe that, I mean, look at the question. Are you concerned with the talks with terrorists will lead to more U.S. soldiers being held hostage? You know, you're varying somewhat, 57 and 27. You're at 84%. That's overwhelming.
Big concerns out there.
Byron, New York, chief political correspondent, Washington Examiner, with us now, also a Fox News contributor. Byron, good morning to you. That poll tells you what about how Americans are reacting in the early days of this?
Well, for one thing, it shows you how completely the White House has miscalculated the public reaction to this. For a lot of Americans, it's just obvious that trading these Taliban commanders for Bo Bergdahl could increase the danger to Americans in dangerous places like Afghanistan. And by the way, a Taliban commander told Time magazine the same thing this morning, that the Bergdahl case shows them how much they can get from capturing a high-value American target. So it shows you that the White House has completely misread public opinion on this.
If the collaboration report proves to be accurate, Byron, how does that change the story?
Well, I think it really takes those poll numbers and just shoots them even farther upward, because clearly the White House, if from what we know now, the White House expected that there would be controversy over the swapping of the 5 Taliban commanders. They expected there'd be some controversy about not notifying Congress, but they have been surprised at the controversy over Bergdahl himself and over the circumstances of Bergdahl's disappearance. And Politico reports this morning that White House aides have interpreted that controversy, those questions, as a proxy for hatred of the president, which means they're interpreting it politically instead of looking at the actual substance of people concerned about the possibility not only that Bergdahl was a deserter, but that he might have actually collaborated with the enemy. This could be a very dangerous situation for the White House.
Yeah, it's a fascinating response. Wall Street Journal front page story today. Mohammed Fazl, one of the 5, now in Qatar. He drove fear into the people of Afghanistan back in 1999, basically going through the central part of the country and taking down a town. And now they're worried that he'll come back and do the same thing again. But you talk about the planned defense for the White House and how they were caught off guard on this, Byron.
Well, they were caught off guard because of about the nature of Bergdahl's disappearance. I think they were also caught off guard by the fact that a number of Bergdahl's former Army colleagues, and we've heard them here on Fox, have told their story. They believe that Bergdahl is a deserter. They have first-hand knowledge. They've come out. The Army, remember, had them sign non-disclosure agreements. They had to pledge secrecy, say they'd never talk about this Bergdahl case to the public. They are so concerned about what they see as the possibility of a Bergdahl as hero narrative emerging that they've decided to throw those agreements out the window and talk about this. I think all of this has been a big surprise for the White House.
And possibly more coming up today as well. Byron, thank you. Byron, New York, leading our coverage there this morning.
Bill.
Good to have you back on today. Here's Martha with more on this.
We're discussing the backlash there, and Sergeant Bergdahl's hometown is experiencing it as well because they've now canceled their Welcome Home Bo ceremony. For years, Haley, Idaho was the center of support for getting one of their own back home. They hung ribbons and streamers and signs in solidarity. The city's received a flood of letters, though, demanding that they, quote, do the right thing and cancel it. What a turnaround this has been in Haley, Idaho. The city responded saying this: the organizers and Haley expect a significant increase in attendance to this event by people who both want to support or protest against it. In the interest of public safety, this event has been canceled. Haley's a town of 8,000, does not have the infrastructure to support an event of the size that this could become. And meanwhile, back in Washington, senators from both parties now have a lot of questions that they want answered following a classified briefing by the administration to defend the prisoner exchange with the Taliban. According to Senator Lindsey Graham, the very premise of the deal makes no sense.
And I'm more disturbed now than I was before I went in about some of the logic. There's apparently a theory that if we release these 5 Taliban, that it would enhance the chance of peace in Afghanistan. That by releasing these prisoners, that somehow it would empower that part of the Taliban that want to reconcile. I find that whole concept disturbing.
That's an equation that Lindsey Graham cannot square. Peter Doocy is live in D.C. So, Peter, what's the reaction from senators, the rest of them, after this classified briefing that they got that was supposed to kind of clear things up?
Martha, one Democratic Senator, Joe Manchin, says the proof of life video they were shown didn't sell him at all on the White House logic for needing to save Bergdahl so fast that Congress couldn't get a heads up. Manchin says now he's got more questions than answers. We are learning more, though, about that clip senators were shown at a classified briefing. It was from last year. It contained references to Nelson Mandela's death, and it features Bergdahl speaking English in a subdued voice.
It appeared that he was drugged and that he was barely responsive in the video itself. It was not a very long video. You can't conclude a whole lot from it from the standpoint of any serious health issues.
Another Republican Senator, Kelly Ayotte, wants this classified proof of life video made public so Americans can decide for themselves if the White House was right to trade 5 terrorists for Sergeant Bergdahl.
We'll see if they do that. So what do we know about the rest of this story, Peter, that's developing this morning, that there's possibly another terrorist who may be leaving Guantanamo Bay?
Martha, there is another inmate who's been locked up for 12 years for allegedly training in terrorist camps before 9/11. If Fauzi Khalid Abdullah al-Auda is released, he'd be subject to similar restrictions as the 5 prisoners just swapped out, even though some lawmakers are still convinced those 5 might fight again.
Everybody's concerned about that, and we're hoping that basically that 1 year at Qatar, and we can hopefully trust them, and that there is some monitoring there and prevent that from happening. But there's no guarantee. These are all high-level people. This is not low level. This is high level, and these are people that basically have the ability to go back and hit the ground running.
And the briefers were asked last night if the 5 released for Bergdahl would try to kill Americans again. Senator Mark Kirk says the briefers answered they don't know. Martha?
All right, Peter, thank you very much.
Also, a bit of a warning now from Republican lawmakers to the White House not to release more detainees without congressional approval. That's the law, by the way. 30-day notice. Congress supposed to be told of any prisoner deal 1 month in advance, at least. So was the law broken in this case? We'll talk to former Attorney General Alberto Gonzales about that. Live in a couple of minutes. Looking forward to getting him back on the program and getting his views on everything that he's watching from afar. It's coming up.
Surprising that the White House really was apparently taken aback by the response to all of this. So we're going to talk about how all of this could have possibly unraveled the way that it did. And now we've got a